welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful November the 9th, 2020. Ronald Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, nice and warm down here in the south, but I would be remiss if I didn't extend a debt of gratitude to late Fannie Lou Hainer of Mississippi, Charlton. In 1964, she challenged the Republican National Convention for a spot on the floor for the black delegates, Charlton, of the state of Mississippi. She was so powerful that Lyndon Johnson held a press conference to stop her press conference from being on television. And also, Charlton, a debt of gratitude to the late George Floyd of Minneapolis, because he drove America, Charlton, the young white Americans, to come out and say, we can't have this oppression anymore. We have to change the regime and direction of America, and they voted Donald Trump out of office. But also, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, first responders. They're always moving forward, Charlton.
They are always moving forward, Big C. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear, welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and also smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be looking at a still picture. Want to also say hello to my friend Rose Helen from Dubai, following the Big C Sports Show in Dubai. Have them send us some of those billions of dollars. We know they got the money. It's all fair and love and war. I'll never pause, Big C. I know we've been pausing for the 46th presidential-elect Joe Biden and vice presidential-elect Kamala Harris, but we'll never pause on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, I would like for it to be a concerning effort for all Americans, Charlton. We lose some 2,000 veterans every day in this country to suicide. We have veterans that are homeless, destitute, financially, mentally, emotionally, Charlton, and we're not thinking about them as an administration. I know the administration calls them suckers and losers, Charlton, but they gave Americans the right to live as we live. They gave us opportunity to vote as we vote, and we need to do more of a concerted effort other than just the National Suicide Hotline to protect these veterans and give them what they solely deserve in this country. We can't let this pandemic keep going on. We can't let the pandemic of suicide keep going on in America, Charlton. It needs to be a concerted effort from all citizens and the government to stop this national suicide race that we have going on in America. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. It doesn't just affect veterans, but it affects everyday citizens also.
Yep, and Big C, very well said. We will do our part. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can get some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, On Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run leader Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to put people back to work like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com, and you can get some help. Also, for anyone around the world, like my friend does in Dubai, just hold your cell phone open and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll see it pop up on different apps all over the world, from iHeartRadio Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Alexa. It's all fair and love and war. You can hear Big C's thoughts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when you're doing something in Dubai, following the Big C Sports Show, you can do it with the Big C Burger. It is a tasty burger. It comes with exotic meats. You get it at participating restaurants. Also enjoy the Budweiser Zero. It comes with zero alcohol, and it has really great taste, and it goes great with the Big C Burger. Big C, I love what's happened with congratulating the 46th presidential-elect Joe Biden and VP Kamala Harris. It was emotional for me, Big C. I know Van Jones, broke down in tears on CNN because of a lot of things that I felt. I even shed some tears. As black women, the birthplace of all life came from Africa. Scientists know that. But too many times, black women have been told to get out of your seat, Rosa Parks. Let somebody like Donald Trump sit in it. But she wouldn't do it. I really want people to pay attention to this. Black women from Spelman College helped get out the vote in a city ran by a black woman from FAMU, and they pushed the ticket with a black woman from Howard. Over the top. Whether you're talking about Stacey Abrams, Keisha Lance Bottoms, or VP Kamala Harris. Black women have always been the backbone of this country. From cleaning people's houses, picking cotton, Big C, helping change the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act, marching for civil rights when their fathers and husbands were being lynched and murdered. They were the ones that kept their families together. They saw their kids and husbands murdered and sold off, and they couldn't do nothing about it. And so many people have lost hope. But watching these three beautiful, intelligent black women gives me hope, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the strength of the black culture that's come from the South, and it started with Fannie Lou Hamer in 1964, when she challenged the Republican National Convention as a black woman for black delegates to be seated at the convention, Charlton. This is how powerful this movement has been in. She was obstructed by Lyndon Baines Johnson. This is before he passed the voting rights bill. He didn't feel that blacks or black women should have a seat at the table.
Yeah, but it's those black women that made it happen. And so I just pay homage to my mother. I was talking to her today. She's very happy about what she's seeing because she's so intelligent, so beautiful, so wonderful. And I just hate that she grew up in a time in the South where they said colored drinking fountains, white drinking fountains, colored restrooms, and all the indignity they had to put up with that Donald Trump is still trying to put up today. A shame on that garbage. I'm proud of Americans that voted for decency. No matter what you think, it's great when you can look at somebody who actually lived it. She didn't read it in a book. They lived segregation. They understand the pain of it and the stench of it. And to see Donald Trump getting kicked out of office, hopefully he'll feel the pain and the stench of not being one and also of all fair and love and war. Big C, I want to do kind of an abbreviated show today, about 46 minutes, in honor of Vice President Kamala Harris and President-elect Joe Biden, the 46th in office. But I'm just so happy right now. Life is more than just shutting up and dribbling. I'll never be that kind of person because tomorrow's not promised to anybody. But for those black women that raised a family and they had to put up with a lot of garbage just to put food on the table for their own children, and for POTUS to call Kamala Harris mean and nasty, what black woman hasn't heard that in her lifetime? To be honest, you're the mothers of the universe. All life came from Africa. Big C, I want to touch on what happened in the world of NFL football on our abbreviated show today in honor of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You had the Texans doing their thing. They got the chance to beat up on some Jaguars. It was close, though. The Texans 27, the Jaguars 25. They spoiled Jake Luton's first career start for the Jaguars. They were 26 of 38, 304 passing yards, but the Texans got the win. Big C, your thoughts?
This was an outstanding game by the rookie quarterback, Charlton, in his first NFL start. This is a kid that transferred from the University of Idaho to Oregon State, and no one really gave him a chance in the NFL. He never thought he would throw a pass. But in his first start, Charlton, he threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and ran for 1. This shows how far the Houston Texans have slid, though, Charlton, that they had to be pushed to the envelope with a rookie quarterback. Yeah. That defense is only a shell of what it used to be. Deshaun Watson was just able to do enough offensively for the Texans.
Yeah, he just got enough done. But like you say, a win is a win. Congratulations. The New York Giants 23, the Washington football team 20. It seemed like for a minute that nobody wanted to win this game, but Daniel Jones, he improved to 4-0 against Washington in his career. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, and then when you look at Washington, this hapless football team, they lost another quarterback. When you think about Allen, he dislocated his ankle, so he had surgery today most likely, and you brought in the backup quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
Three interceptions to keep the Washington Football Club from winning. The New York Giants almost knocked off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week, Charlton, and they were able to pull off that win against the Washington Football Club.
Yeah, a win is a win. We're going to work on your microphone. I know you're out there in that boat, and they got the storms coming in down south, Big C. The Minnesota Vikings up north, 34. The Detroit Lions 20. The Vikings built some momentum behind Dalvin Cook. The running back ran for 206 yards and 2 scores as the Vikings picked up their first home win of the year. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this shows that your cousin is not the quarterback that everybody thinks that he is in Minnesota, and Dalvin Cook is the straw that stirs the drink, or even cooking the meal there in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
But it's his second consecutive game with over 200 yards from scrimmage, which had not been done for a Viking since 1972 with Chuck Foreman. And it seems like the Vikings might be on the outside looking in, going towards the playoffs.
Yeah, and Stafford's in concussion protocol is all fair in Leavenworth. Be careful when you hang out with those Vikings. Sometimes you might end up concussed. It's all fair in Leavenworth. Big C, the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, get another win. All they do is win, win, win. Whether it's by 3 touchdowns or by 2 points, the Chiefs 33, the Panthers 31. The Chiefs started off an upset. Patrick Mahomes had 4 touchdown passes, 372 passing yards in the win, and Christian McCaffrey had a rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving, but it was not enough. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the Carolina Panthers in this game, Charlton, Teddy Bridgewater probably played his best game of the year, but it came up short against the best quarterback in the NFL. He had 3 touchdown passes of his own, but Mr. Mahomes on the other side had 4.
Yeah.
That makes back-to-back weeks where he's accumulated 9 touchdown passes, Charlton. And there just seems to be no stopping that Kansas City offense when Mr. Mahomes is hot.
Yeah, he's doing his thing, Big C. Congratulations to the defending Super Bowl champions. Whether it's big or close, they still get the win. The Baltimore Ravens played in what I thought would be maybe the game of the week. The Ravens 24, Indianapolis Colts 10. And it's amazing because Lamar Jackson's been up and down kind of this season, but he got the win. The Ravens managed to hold off the Colts thanks to a solid defensive effort that I know makes you happy, Big C. Jackson was 19 of 23, 170 yards passing, and a rushing touchdowns. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is the game that Lamar Jackson needed. He's been struggling the past couple of games, a lot of turnovers, and to go through a game turnover-free against a quality team in the NFL. We know how good the Colts defense is, but yet the Ravens defense was even better on Sunday, forcing turnovers from the Colts. Phillip Rivers sticking him off, causing fumbles, Charlton. But Lamar Jackson was stable and steady all game long.
Yeah, he did his thing, Big C. And it's just congratulations. A win is a win. Tennessee Titans, they got off the snide. They were 24-17 over the Bears. And the Bears are who we thought they were, Big C. It's all fair in Leavenworth, the late Dennis Green. The Titans snapped their skid against the Bears. And newcomer Desmond King had a fumble return for a touchdown. And Ryan Tannehill had 2 touchdown passes in the win, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this was a tough-fought defensive battle, and you talked about the touchdown return off the fumble, Charlton, for the touchdown. The Tennessee Titans did enough offensively to win by a touchdown.
Yeah.
Nick Foles has been inconsistent since being inserted as the starting quarterback with the Bears. They lost David Montgomery, their top running back, so they're down to nothing in the backfield. But both of those defenses were playing light out, old-time, old-fashioned football.
Yeah, old-fashioned football. A win is a win, and they will take it. Buffalo Bills, they got a 44-34 win over the Seattle Seahawks, and that's shocking. Not the fact that Seattle lost, but that their defense gave up 44 points after dominating the 49ers just the week before. The Bills shocked the NFL with a big win over the Seahawks. Josh Allen, the good boy from Fireball, California, 415 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in the win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Seattle has the worst defense in the NFC, Charlton, so it's not a surprise when you have a team that wants to hit them in the mouth. They don't have anybody on the defensive side that wants to play football in Seattle. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs had big days, as well as the rest of this receiving core for the Buffalo Bills. Minnesota's got to be wondering why they let Diggs get away.
Yep.
But Seattle, Russell Houdini Wilson can't do it all by himself. He needs some help on the defensive side of the ball. He had a game, he had another game with 3 turnovers, Charlton. And when you have 3 turnovers in the NFL, you're most likely not going to win.
Yeah, it was a little bit balmy in Buffalo, but the Buffalo Bills, they were sleepwalking the last couple of wins, but this one was more decisive. The birds, when you get a bird, you can either eat it, Moo Williams wings down in Georgia, or you can celebrate it when the Atlanta Falcons 34, the Denver Broncos 27. Matt Ryan, 3 touchdown passes. The Falcons barely hung on against the Broncos. Denver put up 21 fourth-quarter points, and I know they had Arthur Blank sweating a little bit. Big C, your thoughts?
This was a typical Atlanta Falcons game, Charlton, where the fans were sitting there saying, not again, when the Falcons have a commanding lead and come late in the fourth quarter. The opposing team comes charging back as the Denver Broncos did. If you remember when they played the Chargers a week ago in Denver, they won the game on the last play of the game, and they were threatening to do that against the Falcons. But since the Falcons have made that coaching change, they're 3-1 under Raheem Morris.
Yeah, he's doing his thing. Congratulations. A win is a win. Just like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they got to win, even though there's a lot of shenanigans going on with the Trump administration with all of his lawsuits. In fact, he has a date up in Southern District of New York. Big C, there's some good old prosecutors looking at him. They're not following him around like his crowd is getting COVID-19. And Dr. Ben Carson getting COVID-19, head of housing and urban secretary. You think about it. Don't wear a mask around POTUS, and POTUS is not sending him to the same Walter Reed Hospital to get him better. It's all fair and love and war. Man, I'm going to tell you something. Going back to the NFL, the Steelers have played in 2 of the best Super Bowls that I've ever seen, and their opponent was the Dallas Cowboys. They played 2 back in the 70s, and then they played another one in the 90s, the last time the Cowboys were in there. And the Cowboys put up a fight in Sunday down in Texas. The Steelers won 24-19. They needed 15 straight points in the fourth quarter, Big C, but they came back to beat the Cowboys. Big Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 touchdown passes in the win, and the Steelers are now 8-0, Big C, under Tomlin. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure that the Dallas Cowboys know how to win under Mike McCarthy. You can talk about all that's wrong with this team, but it's basically what this team was last year. Mike McCarthy is the major difference, and these players just don't seem to have the drive to win. Pittsburgh has not looked good offensively in their last 2 games. If not for Lamar Jackson's 4 turnovers offensively, the Ravens would have beaten the Steelers and not knocked them out of the unbeaten rank. When you think about Gilbert playing quarterback in his first NFL game, he took the Steelers defense to the brink, to the last drive of the game, and the Cowboys had an opportunity to win other than just a great interception in the end zone by Fitzpatrick. But the Steelers remain the only undefeated team in the NFL.
Yeah, and for Gilbert coming out doing his thing, his father was the quarterback at Cal Berkeley when they played the big game against Elway back in the 80s. And the man is out of the field. The great Joe Starkey and Stafford went on to win that game down at Memorial Stadium in Berkeley, even though there was about 3 players with their knees on the ground. But back then, they didn't worry about the highlights. It's all fair in love and war. I'm sure his dad was happy seeing him play that game. Big C, you ever see a dolphin fight a falcon? I saw it over the weekend. The Miami Dolphins 34, the Arizona Cardinals 31, Big C. A Cardinal and a Dolphin. I always thought a Cardinal would win, especially on dry land. In the ocean, I think the Dolphins would have had a chance. But the Dolphins won on dry land. Tua Tagovailoa had 2 touchdown passes, 248 passing yards. He picked up his second win as a starter. Kyler Murray, 283 passing yards and 3 touchdown passes. Big C, the teams combined for over 600 total yards, and this looked like the quarterbacks of the future, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it was amazing to see these 2 diminutive young quarterbacks playing and putting on such a performance in the NFL. After Tua's first start, a lot of people were skeptical of him only passing for 94 yards. But it was night and day in his second start against the Cardinals. This was a slugfest going up and down the field offensively with both teams. Kyler Murray had his first 100-yard rushing game as a pro quarterback. But it came down to the field goal kickers, and Miami's kicker could make the field goal, and the Cardinals kickers couldn't, and he walked out with a 3-point victory in the desert.
Yeah, and Tua played at St. Louis High School, Honolulu, went to Alabama. Murray played at Allen, Texas, went to Oklahoma. Them good old boys, I'm sure, will have many more matchups with those 2 great teams, Big C. And I'm telling you, you can't win for losing. and I mean that, Big Z. It's a battle of California until the Raiders left. The Las Vegas Raiders 31, the LA Chargers 26. The Chargers nearly had a game-winning touchdown, but Donald Parham Jr. had the ball knocked out of his hands as it hit the ground. Justin Herbert and Derek Carr each had 2 touchdown passes. And the Raiders won a game, or did the Chargers lose the game? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is like the hard luck night, the hard luck life with the Chargers.
Yeah.
This is a team that, is 2-6 and can't get a break. Last week Denver beat them on the last play of the game. This week at home they lose to the Raiders on the last play of the game. I mean, this is almost like the jinx of Tyrod Taylor, who should have been the starting quarterback. They put in Herbert. He looked good offensively, Charleston, but the defense, maybe they're sitting there watching him play and not doing their best.
Yeah, and all the talk about fire the coach, stop it. Stop it. They're not losing by 3 touchdowns. They're losing on the last play of the game. Anthony Lynn's going to do his thing. He just has to get those young players believing that they got to play like one more play, just one more play, and them good old boys would have had probably a 6-2 record as opposed to what they have now. Big C, another game that many people build up as the game of the week. The New Orleans Saints 38, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3. I told you can't trust a Pirate. You got to bring a Saint in to beat up a Pirate. That's 2-0. The Saints are over the Buccaneers. Drew Brees, the NFL's leading touchdown passer, and the New Orleans Saints came out swinging against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They put on an onslaught, Big C, in the first half. They had 31 points in the first half, Big C. It was more than enough for the Saints to pick up their second consecutive win over Tampa, and now they're in first place in the NFC South. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, this game was built on the NFL's all-time touchdown leaders. They came into this game, Brady had 561, Brees had 560. When this game was over, Brady had 561, Brees had 564.
Yep.
And when you think about that New Orleans defense, you would have thought the crowd was there, Charleston, cheering them on.
Yep.
They harassed Tom Brady all night long. They could not get anything functionally, offensively, running or throwing the ball. Drew Brees came into the game with a sore shoulder, but he was able to muscle up 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, and I think Tampa only ran the ball 5 times. What kind of game plan is that? You did say we would see Jameis Winston again. He actually, his first pass, it was not an interception. How do you think Las Vegas liked that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I thought that, I guess if he had the LASIK surgery, he could recognize his uniform.
Yeah, he actually had a better game than Brady. It's all fair level war. Before we take the Big C pause, we have the NFL standings. But I want to ask Big C about tonight. We have a game that's so important, especially for the TV ratings. You have the New England Patriots. They're 2-6 at the New York Jets, and they're 0. The Jets hasn't won a game since last year, Big C. What breaks tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
What breaks tonight, Charleston, is most of these teams are glad that there's no fans in the stands. Otherwise, they get booed out of the stadium.
Yeah.
The Jets are sitting Sam Darnold tonight in favor of Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
But, Cam Newton has been, no touchdowns and 6 turnovers since returning from COVID-19.
Yeah.
This is going to be a game about who can establish the running game. Cam Newton has not been throwing the ball efficiently. He needs to show a sense of urgency if he wants to stay in the NFL.
Yeah, I really look forward to him getting back on the right side of the track. Before we do the Big C pause, we have the AFC East, Buffalo 7-2. Dolphins are 5-3. The Patriots 2-5. The Jets 0-8. The AFC North, the Steelers are 8-0, all by themselves at the top. Ravens are 6-2. The Browns are 5-3. Cincinnati's 2-5 in the AFC South. The Titans are 6-2. The Colts 5-3. The Texans are 2-6. The Jaguars 1-7 in the AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs 8-1. The Raiders are 5-3. The Broncos 3-5. The Chargers are 2-6 in the NFC East. The Eagles are 3-4-1. Washington is 2-6. The Cowboys are 2-7, followed by the Giants 2-7 in the NFC North. The Packers are 6-2. The Bears 5-4. The Vikings 3-5. The Lions are 3-5 in the NFC South. The Saints are 6-2. Buccaneers are 6-3. The Falcons are 3-6, and the Panthers are 3-6 in the NFC West. Seattle 6-2, followed by the Cardinals 5-3, the Rams 5-3, and the 49ers 4-5. That's Big C's thoughts on the NFL. I know a lot of players are looking to find a way to get into a playoff spot, and if you just keep watching, we will find out. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause and really congratulate the 46th presidential-elect, President Joe Biden, and his VP-elect Kamala Harris. We'll take the Big C pause. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Big C, I want to jump down to the world of college football. But before I go there, I'm so proud talking to my mother today about what black women have gone through, being the women where all life came from Africa. You can Google it, Dr. Leakey Gregormendo. Maybe POTUS could do it and his followers, they'd have more respect. Kamala Harris nominated as actually elected vice president along with President-elect Joe Biden. And this is probably the first time that we've had a sitting president call another vice president a monster. He called her mean and nasty. With what black women have been through at the hands of men who look like Donald Trump, I'm so proud for her. She's intelligent, she's educated, and she doesn't back down. And no black woman should have to back down to this draconian nastiness that comes from a lot of our white brethren. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you're scared, you have to resort to racism, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, he's also had some people in Southern District of New York looking at him. I want to try to make this as close to 46 minutes as possible because I just want to pay homage to the 46 presidents-elect and Joe Biden and vice presidents-elect Kamala Harris. Our country needs healing and it needs prayer, but we got to put bigotry to rest. It has no room in America, in my opinion. Big C, college football #1, down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Well, Clemson went down. It may have taken overtime, but Notre Dame awakens its greatness in winning an all-time classic game. The Clemson Eyes quick redemption, though, Big C. Never mind that Notre Dame Stadium was a fraction full due to COVID-19 restrictions. Watching all of that emotion and from the youth spilling on the stands, I'm telling you, Notre Dame had a thrilling 47-40 double overtime win over #1 Clemson. It was a sight to behold. It's been 27 years since the Irish have beaten a #1 team. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, the last #1 team they beat was Florida State, another ACC opponent, Charlton. But this was a big win for the Irish at home against Clemson. This sets it up potentially for a rematch in the ACC championship, and we'll see what prevails at that time. This was the game without Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback. Could have been the difference maker.
Could have been a difference maker. It's two quarterbacks from California, DJ Uiagalelei out of St. John Bosco Bellflower, last year's national champions, and also Ian Book out of El Dorado Hills, Oak Ridge High School, a Sac King Sexton champion. Congratulations to Notre Dame. I mean, it was a great way to play like a champion, like the sign says when they play it like a champion. Auburn versus Mississippi State, Big C. That game was postponed due to COVID-19 outbreak with the Bulldogs program. Saturday's game between number 24 Auburn and Mississippi State at Davis Wade Stadium. It's in Starksville, Mississippi, Big C. It's been postponed due to positive COVID-19 test and subsequent contact tracing within the whole Mississippi State program. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this is to be expected when you look at COVID-19, Charlton, at a record high this past week in America. We're going to see a lot of college games canceled.
Yeah, it's a shame, but you got to put health first. Not everybody wants to, but sometimes science doesn't care if you're trying to get TV money. I hope these kids are healthy through all of this, Big C. The LSU battling COVID-19 last year's defending National Football College champion. They had an outbreak within the program ahead of the SEC West showdown with Alabama, and that might help LSU at least not lose this week. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, whether they had it or not, Charlton, I think they're looking at this as a situation where they don't want to play Alabama. So if they can get out of this game using COVID-19,
yeah,
they will.
They'll try to get out of it. LSU's national title defense hasn't exactly gone as planned, and a new concern has entered the fold Monday. Coach Ed Orgeron, he announced during the weekly press conference that the team is currently dealing with COVID-19 outbreaks as the annual SEC West showdown with #1 Alabama looms this weekend. Big C, Alabama found a way to get back into #1. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Nick Saban is going to have his boys hang around. When you talk about the perennial college football program in America, and regardless who's playing, Nick's on the sideline.
Yeah, Nick is always on the sideline. He's been doing a lot better since he got that Aflac duck on the sideline with him. You know those good old boys. That duck might be scared because the good old boys in the South, they like to eat duck. Mix your thoughts.
You know, the little duck L'Orange is not bad to have. You know, it's okay.
It's all fair. 11 words. Ducks can read it, would never stand next to Nick Saban. Arkansas coach Sam Pittman tests positive for COVID-19. And then DC Barry Odom to serve as interim coach. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about how Arkansas has turned their program around, they're 3-3 this year, Charleston. They could easily be 4-3 if they weren't 4-2 if they weren't robbed out at the University of Auburn early in the season.
Yeah.
But this is going rampant right now through the SEC when you talk about COVID-19. Mississippi State, Auburn, not Auburn, but Arkansas,
yep,
and LSU. This has become a pandemic.
Yeah, it really has. And when you think about SEC, Texas A&M, they're not going to practice today because of multiple positive COVID-19 tests within the program. Coach Jimbo Fisher said that Monday. At least they're, first they said they were going to just not talk about it. That's what the Big 12 said with Oklahoma and them Texas, them programs. At least at SEC, they're putting things on pause. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you just named 4 teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that these universities can keep avoiding talking about COVID-19. Ed Orgeron said back in the summer, basically all of LSU had COVID-19.
Yep.
They delayed a game earlier in the year, Charlton,
yep,
at the start of the season because of COVID-19. I believe it's week 2 that they delayed. Now, again, LSU is testing positive for COVID-19, an excessive amount of players, Charlton. There's no point that the health and welfare of the athletes will ever be considered.
No.
They're going to get in as many games as they can.
Yeah, they always do. Big C, if we stick with SEC has their issues, but also up in the Big Ten, you have Wisconsin. They expect to resume play this week at Michigan after a number of their active players have COVID-19 cases, and the college football program has dropped to 5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the reason why Wisconsin wants to come back, Michigan has quickly become one of the worst football programs in America, Charlton.
Yeah.
They can't buy a victory.
Yeah.
Everybody that they play has been thumped by somebody, and they come in and get an easy victory against Michigan, and Wisconsin is looking to get their second win of the season.
Yeah, when Indiana beats Michigan, you were expecting it for it to be in basketball. Bobby Knight was not on the sidelines. Them Hoosiers did their thing. College football, man, of just the outside of the top 4, which do you consider to be the best? I'm still liking USC from the West Coast because of talent. BYU looked very good, dominating. Boise State has only lost 9 games at home on the blue turf since the year 2000. BYU put it on them big. Cincinnati looks very strong. They had a big win over the weekend. Florida, they did their thing against Georgia. And then Texas A&M, they're winning, but I don't trust them when they play the bigger teams in the conference. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, if you look at that young man playing quarterback at BYU, Zach Taylor, Charlton,
yeah,
you can't say that you see a better-looking quarterback in the country than him. So what he puts on the football is just phenomenal. He can throw it from any angle. He has all the leadership qualities, and he's going to be a success at the next level. I like BYU, as you said, as being the best team outside the top 4 right now.
Yeah, I like him so far. I still like the way USC came back against Arizona State because, seeing Pac-12 teams kick off at like 9 o'clock, I thought it was a typo. It was 9 o'clock in the morning down there in South Central Los Angeles, but it's all fair and level war. College football, Notre Dame students, they're required to undergo COVID-19 testing, Big C, before they leave South Bend for the extended, the winter break coming up. And the school president, Reverend John Jenkins, told students on Sunday night. John Jenkins also tested positive for COVID-19. He was at the Trump rally at the White House a couple of weeks ago. Maybe he brought it in from the White House. When you think about it, and I'm not being flippant about it, Big C, the campus also put in what's called a zero tolerance policy for gatherings that do not follow safety guidelines. Any student doing what the president did at the White House, I'm talking about Reverend John Jenkins, the president of Notre Dame, because he was there without a mask at the White House. He probably brought the virus back to Notre Dame's campus. Now they're saying any student hosting a large gathering like the one he did with Trump will face severe sanctions. So is he going to sanction himself first, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, maybe he should be fired for being hypocritical, Charlton, trying to scrutinize the kids. And yet there he was on national television standing in the Rose Garden without a mask on and catching COVID-19. So you can't come back and say you're going to police the student body, and yet you were reckless.
Yeah, he was reckless, and I'm sure a lot of people are reckless because they like Trump. You know, Dr. Ben Carson understands what that means without a mask as a black man, probably on blood pressure medications, and not wearing a mask because he doesn't have the character to tell that white man, no, my health is more important than you and the health of my family. What a joke, man. College football Pac-12 Week 1 recap. The conference makes a long-awaited 2020 debut, barely Big C. Oregon clearly headlines the league's top act, at least in the Pac-12 North. And the Week 1 basis, they had a nice win and a come-behind win against Stanford. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Oregon has always had a team with a lot of athletes up there, Charlton. Stanford was without their starting quarterback, so it made easy pickings for that duck soup.
Yeah, yeah, duck soup. I wasn't thinking about duck soup. Speaking of duck soup, enjoy the game with the Big C Burger. It really is a tasty burger. It comes with exotic meats, and you get it at participating restaurants. Also enjoy it with the Budweiser Zero. It has zero alcohol, and it tastes great with the Big C Burger. Also, what tastes great with the Big C Burger is when you go to Rocky Mountain High, Colorado, Big C. They raced out to a 35-7 lead against UCLA, and they hung on for a 48-42 win. And who's missing Mr. Tucker now, who's at Michigan State? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess the Pac-12 has forgotten how to play defense. When you think about USC came from 2 touchdowns late to beat Arizona State, and here's Colorado had that huge lead of 35 points and barely squeaked by a touchdown against UCLA.
Yeah, it's a win. It's a win. And since you brought up my Trojans, I told you they got guys that put on their cleats. You know, O.J. Simpson, he was saying somewhere doing push-ups. Marcus Allen was out doing push-ups. Tim McDonald was doing push-ups. They had a guy that played at USC way back in the day called Munoz. He's a big lineman, Big C. He was out doing push-ups too. And Rodney Peete had his push-ups going on too. USC, the Arizona State Sun Devils. The Sun Devils led 27-14. Frank Kush, he coached Arizona State back in the 70s. This team was playing like Frank Kush was coaching them. 27-14. Just over 4 minutes left when the Trojans mounted a frantic comeback, Big C. An onside kick recovery, 2 touchdowns that came on 4th down plays. But I'm still telling you, this Arizona State team, they played a lot like Frank Kush until the last 3 minutes. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess it got too hot in the middle of the day for those Sun Devils, Charlton, and they melted away at the end.
Yeah, they melted away in the end, but it was good seeing the Trojans win because I think they're going to come out of the Pac-12 South and have a chance at the national championship playoffs. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, I want to stick down in Southern California. I want to ask your thoughts in the final few minutes as we honor 46th presidential-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Vice President. And for all black people all over this country, don't let anybody tell you that you can't be whatever you want to be, especially young black girls, because they held the glue for so many families over the years. And to always be at the end of someone that had vitriolic speech, having to watch their fathers and grandfathers beaten and lynched and sold off with impunity, and now to rise to the highest level and land the most powerful woman in the United States of America, most arguably the most powerful woman in the universe, will be Vice President Kamala Harris. It gives a lot of hope to a lot of people. And people don't have to hate black people for succeeding. Just give them praise and thanks the same way you want praise and thanks. I'm proud of that, but there's still too many women tear down other women. Give me your feeling with just going into this weekend, Big C, how it made you feel for not only for your parents and for your children and black women all over the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I still feel proud of myself, but it comes back down to the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson had a hand in writing the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, that all people are created equal. Yet he owned over 200 slaves, and he never felt that it was time to let them have their freedom, and he never did during his lifetime, Charlton. So as we think about the advancement of Negro people here in the United States, this is an ongoing battle. We've got to step in, but we don't have control, and that's the thing. We need a seat at the table consistently.
Yeah, and I think it's going to happen down with Georgia turning blue, and if it happens, it's going to be because of decent white Americans and decent black Americans. It's going to be because of decency. So Abrams was doing her thing down in Georgia, and hopefully she'll get a lot of help from people. It's just, you got to fight for what you want in this country. Nothing's free. And speaking of fighting, Big C, there are 9 members of the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, their organization, test positive for COVID-19 after the World Series celebration. Remember, it was Turner that was very selfish. He knew he had COVID-19, and he said, so what? And he was hugging on players and celebrating with players anyway. And now, just about a week and a half later, they're dealing with COVID-19. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I'm not going to put it all on Turner, but, he was he was the one that was pointed out.
Yeah.
If the one player in the dugout had COVID-19, then he was in contact with everybody pre-game, during the game, and even after the game. So that after-the-game celebration was the least amount of time he spent with his teammates.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all fair and love and war. I know people got to make sure, wash their hands, social distance. Everybody, just do the pause and try to do what's right. NFL football, Pittsburgh Steelers tight end Vance McDonald, after the game with the Dallas Cowboys, test positive, COVID-19. Maybe they were a little bit sluggish on offense for a reason, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no, I mean, it's not just the tight end. I mean, you got to think about the quarterback who was not being productive and not getting the ball to the players. But, the offensive line is the one that's got to hold up for the passing and running game. Yeah,
they got to do that too. Also, San Francisco 49ers, Kendrick Bourne, he's back on COVID-19 reserve list. First they said he had it, then they said he didn't have it so he could play against the Packers. Now they're saying he's on protocol. I don't know what to say, but people got to do what they can to stay safe. I hope everybody's safe tonight in New York City with the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. And I know that no matter what happens in this country, we are a great country because we can vote. And we were saying that this is going to be the biggest vote in the history of the universe. And it did happen in the United States of America. And Big C, I'm proud of being a part of that. The one thing that white Americans always done, pejoratively speaking, to keep black people silent, they wouldn't allow slaves to read, and they wanted them to stay dumbed down. And sometimes it's always a back and forth. Do we show that we're intelligent and talk about what's real, or do we just read scores 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And I know mainstream has succeeded for the most part because they've beaten the intelligence out of a lot of black broadcasters that don't even challenge the station producer because they say, if you talk politics, you're out of a job. Well, maybe if you just keep having that conversation, they'll capitulate because a lot of people do. I'm just proud of smart people. If not for Abrams and Kamala Harris and the governor or the mayor down there, at least Bottoms down in Atlanta, if they would have been told to shut up or you're going to be out of work, then they wouldn't have had the power they have today. What can our black brethren learn when people tell you no, get out, you're not welcome, you're not wanted? These powerful black women, they said, no, I can do anything. Yes, we can, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they're very well knowledgeable of what has occurred and came before them. But their whole point is they want to stay employed.
Yeah.
They've watched many people come and go in front of them because of those type of rhetoric. So they want to keep their jobs and keep their family supported.
Yeah, it's all fair and love and war. I really appreciate how this country is growing. Just like giving birth, you got to keep growing. I heard it last story. A friend of mine was telling me that a woman that he knew of was going to give birth. So she had twins, and these two twins were inside of the belly. And they were saying, well, what do you think's on the outside? Is life over once we get on the outside and see the light? And the one baby said, no, I'm sure there's a lot going on outside of the womb. And so once they came down the womb and they came out into the world, in fact, they came out into the universe, they saw the light and they started breathing. And they realized the more they breathed, Big C, the more they had a chance to change things. I ask people, keep breathing. Just like a baby coming into the world. Keep breathing. Don't be afraid. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, always looking a lot to the sports universe. But I want everybody to look up Fannie Lou Hamer out of Mississippi, 1964. She is the reason why we have Kamala Harris in the White House now as the vice president-elect. When you think about the movement of black women in America, it started with her when she challenged the Republican Party at the convention in 1964. And I want to give a thanks to our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders, for all of what you do in the challenging job that you face every day.
Every single day. You guys, I really appreciate what's going on in this world. I appreciate everybody not shutting up dribbling. I appreciate all of the women from Africa to the United States. They had to do whatever they could to make sure their children could eat and make sure they could read. I implore people, keep reading, keep believing. We can do anything as long as we keep breathing. And you can too. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.